Hope that we can learn a good bit from you guys. I've already seen some shirts and caps and stuff. I can't get our guys to pay more than $10 for a shirt. So what's the secret? We need to know. You give them away. Well, that's even better. Believe it or not, we can't afford to do that. But I know some of you have been here before. And how many of you have been here before? So a good number, but most of you have not. And I hope that we can show you a little bit about what we've been doing here over the last few years. This is our 35th year. We were started back in 1981 by 5 guys sitting around drinking coffee, and it's progressed up to today. We have about 700 members. We'll talk about that this afternoon. Right now I want to show you an overview of, and David, I think I can see the slides, but David DeWeese, past president, he's our IT chairman. We'll talk about in more detail this afternoon what we do in that arena. But I can't, okay, you can see that our purposes primarily are for charitable projects. That's why we were formed in the first place. We continue to do charitable work. We've got, if you look back over the entire history of our organization, we've probably touched more than 80 different charitable organizations in this area. To mentor, to teach woodworking skills to new members and to old members, and then our shop is available for personal use. So let's go on to the next slide, David. We've covered this a little bit, and I'll cover it. We'll talk about it more as the day goes by. Our first education center was opened in 2003 in a leased space. The entire place was about half the size of this auditorium, and we quickly outgrew that, and we were fortunate enough to be able to get this facility 6 years ago. We have a lot of things you're going to see on the tour, so I won't go over those, but you'll see all of these on the tour.
This is actually, up until about 6-9 months ago, was used for storage primarily. And what we've got now is a spray booth. Behind, back here is a rotating table where you can put your project on the table, rotate it, and spray. And we've got the spray guns. Obviously, we require the individual to clean the gun afterwards. What it is on a checkout, you can actually sign up for a period of time. You leave your car keys in a lock box, and then you get the key to come down here to open up and to use the facility. When you're finished, you clean up and then check it back in with the supervisor to get your car keys back and turn the key back in up above. Correct. All right, go right ahead.
We do not be in the business of cleaning out clogged up guns. So the user has to bring his own gun. He's got to clean his own gun or not clean it. We don't care. He can take his gun home with him. We provide the fresh air. We provide the clean air. We provide the booth. We provide the lights. He provides his finishing materials and his gun.
Yeah, I stand corrected.
Reserve space. Remember him talking about the 4-hour shifts that the supervisors have? You can reserve 1 shift or 2 shifts or 3 shifts. We don't break it into hours or minutes. And so you get a whole shift.
The biggest advantage to us is to have it available for charitable projects. In the past, what we've had to do is build stuff here and take it to a cabinet shop or somewhere like that to spray, or try to spray it outdoors or something like that. So that's the biggest advantage to us. As far as individual members' use, people that make small projects generally don't spray them. But the bigger projects that they make, they're bringing down here. We expect to get, my expectation is over the next year, we'll probably double the usage of the patches. And as people get more familiar with it,
Well, the other thing, this time of year, you'll start spraying at 6 o'clock in the morning and it'll be too hot by 9.
Yeah.
yeah, they ran into
It'll
a
affect
problem
the
with the
finish.
tables on it.
Yeah, that's kind of our experience for projects and so forth that we do. We usually go over here to the daycare center and we put up a couple of tents out in the backyard, and that's our spray
I
area.
understand.
All right.
We keep a little supply of lumber on hand. We got about 20 different kinds of sheet goods and about 25 so different kinds of regular lumber. If anybody's interested in how we take care of this stuff, we have a rather resourceful member who likes to write programs. And one of the programs he has written is for the wood inventory. If you see right here, we've got each piece of lumber in a rack has an individual number on it. We put the species, all the prices, what the customer pays, what we pay, and invoice numbers.
You got the price, you got the species, and you got the board number.
One of the things we have here, when members buy lumber, it is on the honor system. They fill it out with the board number, the price, their name. If it's a personal project, just personal, or if it's a charitable project, they'll put on here charitable.
Right on.
How do you guys account for that differently? You made a point about that.
What, charitable versus
Yeah.
personal? It'd be two different envelopes. One personal, one, then they can either pay it with cash, check, or by credit card.
You got the same envelope. If it's a charitable project, they just write the charitable project
Yeah.
down on it, so we can charge it off to that particular project.
Down here, they just put it.
Okay, so, yeah, I remember the last time I was here, you bill, whoever's receiving this thing, you bill them for cost of material, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Part of that is to keep track for the tax exempt certification has to be reported periodically. So that's important for us to keep track of. It's greatly eliminated, being on the computer now, the system has greatly eliminated a lot of the manual work that used to be when we were doing it on a printed sheet. Just you'd sign in on a sheet. Now it's all computer, and it makes it much quicker, much more accurate, provided people sign in. But we do require sign-in.
The supervisor on duty for each 4-hour shift wears one of these fluorescent green vests. He must be taking a nap right now. He's around here somewhere.
All right.
But you'll see him.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Red and blue.
All right, those are the dust collectors. The red is #1 dust collector. The blue is #2 dust collector. Yes. The lights underneath over here, underneath the air dryer. There's a sensor in there, and it's adjustable depending on at what point you want it to kick on. Now, what we've also got now on a number of pieces of equipment are these automatic gates. The minute you open, they turn the power on.
Watch this.
Watch.
members invented that. And he's in the process of not making them out of cardboard anymore. He's going to start making them out of aluminum.
Is that the one that?
Can you activate it again for a second?
Sorry?
Can you activate it again for a second?
Turn it back on?
Yeah.
Sure. Ready?
Yep.
What that's doing is sensing the power on the machine.
Thank you.
Sets a solenoid and then turn on. They tend to be used extensively. So with the 10-inch over there now, with the new one, we're much better off. We've got our smaller band saws here. We've got two 36-inch band saws back over here. One of the band saws is for green lumber only, because green lumber will tend to really gum up your blades, and it takes a good bit of time to clean it. Our sander here.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, we've got 4 lathes out here now. That's been added in the last couple of years. Those are for members. Again, one of the things that we've done here, we've got lock boxes. Somebody wants to check it out. They put the car keys in here, the supervisor unlocks it, puts the lock on here, and they have to check it back in when they're finished to make sure all the equipment's here, all the tools, all the equipment's in the box.
And that they've cleaned up after themselves.
Exactly. We had materials missing, and so we implemented this, I'm going to say 3 or 4 years ago. We've had very good response from the members, because they know when they come and check it out, the equipment's going to be here.
And that's regardless if you're in there.
The full face shield, mandatory.
Bring your own tool.
Or you can bring your own tool. Now, one thing today, all the ductwork is cleaned up front. Everything is cleaned up completely.
We get about 40 volunteers to come in for the morning. We'll do Friday night overhead stuff, and then Saturday we'll do the stuff down low.
Well, we'll come back around and I'll show you. There's 2 ways to do it. What we just walked through is the assembly area. And it's not uncommon to see projects and everything. We do not allow storage on the stand. Although you'll see some stop. They could well be in lunch or whatever, but any project left unattended must have a tag on it as to whose it is.
Tell them about the sawdust getting out of hand.
I told them about this
About the sawdust getting out of hand.
to keep it minimized in here.
That's correct.
All right, we'll walk around and go over that.
So are these tables are so neat, or desk collection system, or stand on the
Same
same?
damn cell. Okay. Real briefly, this is another router table that we've got. We've got the multi-tool, multi-spindle drill here for doing shelving. And we've got got a one and only scroll saw over here.
Yeah, what, how did it come?
There's several vendors here in Greenville where you can buy them. One of the nice thing, a number of the vendors, you get a guild discount.
Can you open that drawer? Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the stages here. And that's where the group will handle it. So Tuesday mornings, you're going to see a lot of people in the shop doing doing toys, painting, cutting, sanding, you name it. Then back in here, we have the
Bring your own tools in here to show.
I can learn how to do it the right way. What classes are so often?
We're glad to have you here. This is our bench room, and we use this for the youth program, and as you can see in here, we have other projects going. We don't do youth program on Saturdays because it deprives the gentlemen from coming in and using this space when they're doing 9 to 5 during the week and therefore paying for our retirement. Okay? Now, what I've given is a information piece on the youth program, which is what I do in here, in the other area. And we can talk about it at lunch on details, but the key thing to putting together a program is selecting the right adults to work, people that get along with the youth, that don't have argumentative attitude in dealing with teenagers. And second, to be really pre-screened, particularly your first year or two, so that you build in the potential for success as opposed to contention. And you do that as we did for this. I brought my teenagers from the history farm, Roper Mountain History Farm, down here for the first year, then moved in other students as those phased out due to graduation, and now the class is entirely homeschool and some public school kids, and we go back to the history farm to do work. It's just been a reverse pollination process. But you want people that want to be here to work, all right? A word of caution on medical stuff. We've had some issues come up. Parents would have children that are ADHD hyperactive. They would not tell us. They would take them off medications, and so the kid was at a great disadvantage when they came in here. They'd been bouncing up and down being off meds. I've worked with this stuff for 40 years, so I'm speaking as a clinician, not as a woodworker when I say this. Second, any kids that tend to have explosive disorders, you don't want around sharp tools in this kind of environment. And also, please ask the parents directly. If she is coming to the class, is there any history of severe allergies with her? Some of our woods really kick off allergies, dust allergy, if they're super sensitive. Also,
and we have masks for the youth. If you have asthma or anything like that and you're allergic to the wood, we will give you a mask that will protect your lungs for it.
right? And also seizure disorders. We have seizure history marked on there. One set of parents wouldn't tell us that when we questioned everybody. They never admitted. The kid has a full-blown seizure in the middle of class. Okay, had to have 3 stitches in the back of his head.
That's
all right?
only been our problem. That was the
Right, and so the brother has the seizure history as well. That's too dangerous in this kind of environment, particularly if it's an uncontrolled situation. And what that revealed was the dynamic within the family of how they view that and how they handle it. So then you can establish the foundation, 3 or 4 or 5 kids, something you can control. You've got a primary instructor, you always keep a backup. We come in the gate, we come in the door, they sign in, they go right to the boardroom, they get a coffee or tea or something, sit down, we go through a first aid comment, what we want to do that day, any specialties going on, any words of wisdom from these 2. And then we break into our lathe groups and our bench tool group, and we go to work. We go to work, if they're brand new, we go to work on a basic project like this. This is a variation of a shaker bench, all right? And they learn the tools, they learn the structure, they learn concepts of design, and they put one of these together. This will eventually go to a charity donation. Last November, we made 8 benches, like the mate of this in the front that's painted. They were all made in super time by kids who made 2 or 3 of them before, because they went down to the Meyer Center for Learning Disabled Children. And we discussed, how do you make it? The kids are 3, 4 years old. We don't need to be climbing. We made them this high, we made them a little wider so they're stable. So they think through the learning process that's involved. And that's it. So catch me during lunch, glance through that, and write down questions and hit me with them during lunch and this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. This is great to have you come up.
It's a larger item. There's a cart you can put the item on, store it in the auditorium on the other side of this wall. Both must have a storage tag on it. What you can see here, these magenta labels, they're expired. We're in the process of changing. This used to be no charge. You had a 2-month period, and then you could get it extended under certain circumstances. Well, the problem is you had people squatting in these cubicles. So now, beginning the 1st of August, there's a $2.50 charge for each week you're using storage. If you're using storage here and you also need it in the auditorium, it's only 1 charge. If you only need it in the auditorium, it's still 1 charge. But it's to avoid this squatting, and you can see in some of these places, it looks like they're just putting their cutoffs in it. Exactly.
Now, 4 years ago, when you guys were here, this wall here was the only storage there was. Since then, we've added all of this out here, and what was in the hand tool room as well. And it's all filling up. The usage is just
We can't
skyrocketing.
continue to add storage. It costs. So that's the current process because of the issues we have.
Okay, come on in. I'm Jim Kilton. I coordinate the lathe training sessions here. I do lathe training along with 5 or 6 other volunteers. Tom is one of our lathe instructors. We have generally throughout the year we'll conduct a series of 4 or 5 lathe training classes. When we have the lathe training classes, we'll have classes during the day and the evening, and generally we'll have four classes going on at the same time. A couple of day classes, a couple of evening classes. Day classes are they're all-day classes from 9 o'clock in the morning until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they go 1 day a week for 3 weeks. If they're in the night class, they go for from 6 o'clock in the evening until 9 o'clock in the evening, and they go for 5 weeks, covering the same material. Before anyone can take the lathe training class, we require that they sit in on a lathe safety video, and that safety video is it covers not only the safety of the individual, but the proper use of the machine and whatnot, which then is reiterated during the class. So we expose them a little bit to it in the lathe safety video, and then during the training we go through sharpening of the tools, we go through proper use and setup of the machines, go through using the various chuck mounting methods, the face plates, chucks,
between centers or whatever. We start off, we do a green bowl turning with green wood, and we rough turn it, and we put it up in a box with shavings in there, and then we leave that until the last class, at which time we go back and return it. Generally, there's distortion that has taken place, and people see what is happening with the distortion, and then we follow up with a dry bowl, which we take all the way to a finished. We let them sand that. The green bowl we don't sand, but the dry bowl we'll let them go ahead and sand. We'll take a 2x4, cut it up, and we'll do some spindle turning, teaching them to do beads and coves and taper on a little lathe. In addition to that, we'll do a little bud vase that they can take home with them. Gives them a feel for doing something to a drawing. So when they do the bud vase, they're working to a layout. After that, the last class is followed up with a little simple lidded box, and we'll go back to doing the first bowl that hopefully has enough distortion so that when they see how to remount the thing, turn a tenon on there, and finish the thing off. We do have the classes, there is a fee associated with it. It's a $30 fee, but it's primarily to cover the cost of the materials, the turning blanks and whatnot that we use in the class. It's not intended to generate income to the guild. If unfortunately there are some times when a student does not pass the class, and it's generally for safety reasons. We'll get some students that just absolutely do not catch what it is that we're trying to tell them about the safety of using the tool. And generally it's a situation where they want to keep touching that tool to the turning wood and slamming it down on the tool rest. And after one or two sessions, you generally got to take them aside and say, hey, what is it you're trying to get out of this class? Because you're obviously not paying attention to what we're telling you as far as safety. And I would say, 5% maybe don't pass the class for safety reasons. And then once they go through the class, they get signed off on the computer, and we'll watch them using the machines out in the shop, and then they're allowed full use of the machines in the shop. They do not have to take the safety class or the lathe training class to use the machines in the shop. If somebody comes in and says, I'm qualified, I've got a lathe at home, I know how to use a lathe, then one of the lathe instructors can check them out on the machines out there and then sign them off if they feel they know what they're doing. Like we could give them a block of wood and say, okay, turn me, round this off and turn a couple of beads and coves and whatnot. You can tell pretty fast whether they know what they're doing or not. Or you give them a block of wood like this and say, okay, mount this on the lathe, and you can see, does he pick up a face plate, or how is he going to mount it on the lathe, or how is he going to turn it? It's generally pretty easy to tell whether a person has the ability of turning out, safely out in the shop.
It's not if they think they can do it, it's that they demonstrate they can do it.
Right.
Two different things.
Right. So, and occasionally we'll get people that say, oh yeah, I turned when I was in high school back in 1950. Well, or we've had a couple of instances where machine shop workers have come in. The guy said, and it's funny because on two occasions I know both of these guys were machinists, and said, oh, I use a metal lathe all the time. And I said, not the same thing. And invariably, the guys that have told me that they were metal workers have found out that turning where you're controlling the cut and whatnot versus setting it up is totally different, so it's interesting. Any questions?
Yeah, your safety videos, how long are each of those typically?
Well, the two videos take about an hour and a half, so we'll generally, I'll set up a session where all of the class participants will come to the same safety video, and then I'll show them in the boardroom, generally on a Friday and a Saturday prior to the start of the classes. And the reason I started doing that, and I started that, a couple years ago, Tom, was that instructors tend to be too familiar with the machines or the tools or whatever, and this way we know that everybody is hearing the same thing. That we've had situations where out in the shop we'll see somebody doing something and say, well, I never heard that before. So I said, okay, everybody's going to hear the same thing. So everybody's got to sit in on that lathe safety video. That way I know that everybody has heard the same thing, unless they've been sleeping in the video, you know. So
Do you do sanding in here?
we limit the sanding to when we do the dry bowl. One of our instructors does not allow sanding because he has an asthmatic condition. Matter of fact, he ended up in the hospital, and that's why we put these two filters in here, because if we leave the sanding going on, it plugs up the air conditioning filters, and we put those two filters on there, so we do allow them to sand the one bowl, because it's in this confined area, it's a little intense at times.
I think also along those lines, it's important they learn the techniques to get a good finish. Anybody generally can sand, but getting that finish will minimize the sanding.
Right.
Right.
I heard something. Yeah, I heard something that implied that there might be another classroom with the same layout, or no?
No, we've got the youth training room over here for the kids on the mini lathes, and
so this is your primary teaching
this
classroom?
is the primary.
This is mostly adults that only take this, it's not the homeschool
Well,
kids.
we limit this because in the shop, we limit use of the machines to 18 years of age, and that's, so they have to be 18 years of age to take this class.
Interestingly enough, the AAW convention in Atlanta a few weeks ago, they gave away 25 lathes to the youth.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids got 6 of them.
Yeah, they were excited about that.
Ball and cup games. She's 13. She's one of my favorite students. For those who are interested in a youth program, we do have a syllabus which has been put together for wood turning, one for hand tool, and one for combined fine arts, which is 150 hours. It includes a little curriculum development, and we'll have those this afternoon. Well, out of here, but I hit 76 this year, and you got to be reasonable and trying to think ahead. But you will never have more fun than teaching kids.
Well, the kids, the entire youth program, their favorite day of the week is when they get students. Not even close.
It really is, and
They're jumping to get to come in here.
you can't imagine how good they are. Unlike adults, they listen.
The only problem is running into the shop.
On claw, leg. These are some of the beads of courage boxes here that are waiting. And this is an ongoing project. This is not a one-time project for the Guild. Beads of Courage will be ongoing. We've got over here in the case some items that were made by guild members. Even the train that was here is made by a guild member. There's another train over here made by a guild member. This desk, I might add, even this table was actually donated by one of the founding members of the guild. So, and then over on the other side are some additional items that have been put together.
Also can I point out that these burial urns are for the indigent veterans, the homeless veterans that pass away and get buried in the national cemeteries. Typically what they will do is they will cremate them, put them in a plastic bag, set the bag up on top of the marble top table and have a ceremony.